Hi everybody. Was there music playing in the background before you guys walked in? Can you hear it? Alright, I'm gonna call my buddy Michael DeNicola in a second. Stand by. I thought I'd just go live with the face thing rather than the countdown, because that just takes up more time, no? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna call Mike. Well, what do you know?
Hey, look who it is.
What do you know, buddy? I'm gonna turn down some of this music and I hope people can hear you. Stand by.
Are you streaming right now?
I am streaming right now.
So they can hear everything.
They can hear all the little chit chat that we're doing, pal. And hopefully,
let me pull up your stream. So
yeah, hopefully people can hear you, because I got you bumped up pretty high there, pal. Can everyone hear Mike as I say hello to everyone on stream?
Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
You're gonna.
Shit, could you hear that?
Yeah, people can freaking hear that. All right, let me say hello to everyone. There's only it's an intimate amount of people on my stream right now, Mike, which is preferred.
Okay. I'm pulling up your stream. Here, I've got you up. I've got you up right now. I'm about to look at all this handsome. There you are. Ooh, nice lighting, sir.
Oh, I forgot to turn on the lighting in the background, buddy.
Oh yeah, you might wanna. It's all right. Listen, who gives a crap about?
Hey, we're gonna need that. You guys, hold on. I'm pantsless right now, so I need to go to this screen.
Are you serious, dude? You're not wearing any pants?
No.
Even I'm wearing shorts. It's hot, but your boy's still wearing gym shorts. You never know, man. You know. I would show you guys, but I don't want you guys to jerk off to my feet.
No, don't do that. No feet jerking off, please. All right, here we go. Lights are on. Everything is working. I'm going to say hello to everybody. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Hello, El Petrino.
Let me pop out your...
Hello, Wilson DeBuha. How are you? JK, how are you? Good evening. K Manifesto. Good evening. Emiliano, is this the first time you've ever been in my stream, man? If it is, hello, welcome. If not, welcome back. Hi, Eric. Your work is amazing. Greetings from Argentina. Hello, Argentina. Strike Boy, welcome back again. Thank you so much for swinging by. And there is Belle. How are you?
Shut my sound effects off for you.
Appreciate it, man. There's Raul Trevino. How are you, man? Replicant, pants are for nerds. Pants are for nerds. How are you, Page One Comics? How's things going? Kazuto, good evening from Brazil. Good evening, Brazil. We've got an international audience, Michael.
Wow, man, you got a Brazilian there.
We do. We got a Brazilian. What else do we got? There was somebody else. Argentinian. Page One Comics says, Eric, you have a guest now. The answer is, it's less of a guest and more of a. What would you consider it, Mike?
A burden.
I wouldn't say burden. I would say I would say a co-pilot, right? That's not a guest.
Yeah.
All right, a guest is a guy that just kind of
like,
shows up.
You know what I am, dude? I'm the R2D2 to your Anakin Skywalker.
No, I don't think
when
so.
You're shooting
I
around
think
the,
I don't
space.
think I don't think we're gonna use that analogy.
Because of the connotations.
You could have picked 100 different other things, but you chose that one, and I don't like it. Renan Belmonte, hello, good evening. There's a South American person, somebody from Bolivia is in my stream mic. And there's Mr. John Amore.
Hello?
John.
Hey,
John Amore. I made this call on our Discord sled gang, so you are more than welcome to hop in.
Oh yeah, John could totally hop in here.
You can absolutely. That room is open to him. Hi, do I want to see your portfolio? Not at the moment. How do I what do you call it? How do I regard you? You're just a Dash. I'm gonna call you Dash. How's it going, Dash? Decoy, how are you? Who's banning you, man?
Oh, I banned Decoy from my stream for speaking out of turn.
Oh, what do you say?
Shit.
What did they say?
He was talking nasty. He said I was boring.
He said you were
Rude.
born and therefore that's a crime. Is that what he said? Or you were boring?
He said I was boring. He said I was boring, and I said I hope his family dies in a fire.
No, that's not true. You never said that out loud on stream.
Of course I was joking.
No.
You can't say those kinds of things on the internet.
You're not allowed to. You're
That's
gonna
crazy.
get kicked off. Now, when you stream, who do you typically cater to? Your Twitch audience or your YouTube audience? By the way, if you're not already following my good friend Michael DiNicola, you can find him on twitch.tv/Michael DiNicola or on youtube.com/Michael DiNicola. Instagram and Twitter are for dummies, but you can find him under that name as well in his social media. So go do that. John Amore is saying that my music is a little loud. There, John. How's that? That's for John. It's probably because I'm not hugging up on this mic. John Amore. I'm gonna get drawing
What's up?
in a bit.
What's up, Manifesto? What's up, Striker? What's up, everybody over on Eric's stream?
Look at all
What's
these
up, everybody
people
on my
showing you all
stream?
sorts of love, buddy. Look at that. How's that
Hey,
feel?
hey, cuties. Feels empty.
It feels disingenuous.
Who's paying them to say these things? Wait, do you really?
Hello,
wait,
Miss
are you not
Mona
wearing
Snow.
shorts? Or
How
you
are
just,
you?
are you? Wait, are you?
I'm saying hello to
completely
people, man.
bottomless?
You're
Like,
talking to me. You're talking to me about like Pooh Bear in it.
yeah, I'm wondering if you're Donald Ducking it or Pooh Bearing it right now.
I'm doing neither, buddy. I just got my pajama bottoms on.
Okay. You know, John's wearing his pajamas
say,
too,
Howard?
but they're footy pajamas.
Yeah, he's in the middle of the jungle of the Philippines. He's wearing a very, very warm set of pajamas.
Yes, it's just like where the wild things go. Was based loosely off John Amore's life.
It's what? Okay. All right, I'm gonna start drawing, and we can continue to talking.
Yes.
Hey, have you ever had the opportunity to show your work around at a convention? Have you ever been that brave? Because if you haven't, you're a pussy.
I ever
I'm just
been?
kidding.
You mean like have I ever been like, hey, check out my portfolio?
Yeah, like have
dude.
you
know
ever
what,
gone
actually-
at a show with portfolio
Yeah.
under your arm and said, "Hey,
Yeah,
come and check out. Do you have
Take
a
a
second
look.
to check out my stuff?"
yeah.
Who'd you show it to?
Matter of fact, it's how I met. It's how like the couple guys that are dropped. That are, I mean, Declan Shelby, fucking Dustin Wynn, dude, Francis Manipul.
Okay,
Definitely like, but like they were
Well-
like a Todd Knock, I think.
that's cool. I
way
mean, those
back
are all
when.
legitimate
It was
people.
like 7 or 8 years. Yeah, they were all really nice. They weren't mean, but
Yeah.
they've had critiques, and they're definitely like, you've got some learning to do, boy. You know?
Wait, how long ago was this? Was it like this was last week, wasn't it?
Again, this like
You were crawling into their
Yeah,
houses
it
with
was
your
yesterday.
freaking with your
knock, knock.
COVID mask on.
Wake up, Francis. Yeah, no, this is like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, that was a while ago, man. You've leveled up in a big way since then.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, no, but recently, no, not in the last.
Is it because it's just
years.
not in your? You just don't have the fire for it anymore?
Well, the way I think of it, it's. I really wanted to, up until like a handful of years ago, I was like, oh man, I want to get good enough to do comics, man.
Yeah.
Like, I want to really tell a sequential story, but then actually doing some light sequential stuff over the last few years, just like a few pages here and there.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, dude. This is so much work. This is so much fucking work. Holy shit, it's so hard.
Yeah.
Especially for somebody like myself who's brand new. It's like, it's that much harder when you don't know what the fuck you're doing as well.
Right.
So like even working on some pages with John, maybe the year before last, we were working on a Webtoons book called Wizard Commando.
Yeah. I remember that. Okay.
Even with John like editing me and like kind of showing me the ropes, I was like, yo, dude, this is crazy hard.
Yeah.
And like super like time consuming.
Yeah.
And as much as I enjoyed it, I was like, fuck, dude, I think I'd rather do
I'd rather do anything else but this, right?
I was like, man, dude, I don't know if I love sequential storytelling enough to dedicate my entire artisanry to it.
In your day, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Now, we have to temper that a bit because it's like John Moore, and he's a freaking slave driver, He's a bad guy.
Mistress John Moore.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah, well, dude, John, how many hours a day do you work on Urban Animal?
Speaking of, our very good friend John Moore is in chat, and if you're not already following him in his webtoon series called Urban Animal, please go now. Follow him.
Shit, fuck, I forgot. Sorry, that's my freaking. That's my.
Is that your sub?
That's my dono. That was my dono alert.
I love it. I freaking love it. The reason why I asked is because I can't remember the last time that I had portfolio underarm asking for people's feedback. You know what I mean? Like, it has been a fair minute since I've gone to conventions, and I think at some point that just kind of phased out. Like, you don't do that at conventions anymore, at least in an official capacity, right? Because back in the day, that's all I would do whenever I'd attend conventions is, have my 10 pages and try to hit up as many editors and publishers as possible. In your case, you said it was as recent as 7 years ago, but 7 years ago, you weren't even showing it to publishers. You were showing it to pros, right? Trying to get their feedback and all that kind of stuff.
Well, because like even at that point, like the smart move is to go to editors, right? For a person looking to actually work and to get a job in the industry, you show your pages to people who fucking control who gets hired and who doesn't.
Exactly.
Me, the way I looked at it, I wanted to show my pages to people who I look up to and respect as artists.
Now, why is that? Why was that the qualifier for you?
I wanted I wanted to work hard enough to one day consider these men and women peers. And which is not like the fucking, like, that's not smart. Yeah.
Can I tell you, I was just thinking about this before I signed on, right? Because I was thinking about when was the last time that I showed my portfolio, and similar to you, not identical, but similar to you, I also wanted to have not necessarily the adoration, but definitely the respect of my peers, because when you're trying to get into the industry, you want people who are in that industry, the known names, right? The sort of, the luminaries, the well-respected guys, the ones that everybody is, looks towards to set the standard. I wanted those guys' approval, and slowly but surely, I I think I worked to get their, their attention, right? To almost be considered as part of that very oddly close-knit group, like you're in the in crowd now, right? You're part of the cool kids crowd. But after I got there, can I tell you something? I realized it's the most boring space ever. Not because of these guys, not because of them individually, because I'm not trying to throw any kind of shade at them, but because at the end of the day, I don't know if they loved it. You know what I mean? Like, I broke into the comic book industry, or at least I tried to break into the comic industry because I really, really loved comics. And once you get in there, especially with guys who have been doing it for a while, it's rare that you'll find the ones that are just talking about process the same way that you and I and John talk about process, They rarely do. They talk about anything else, And that gets, I know that sounds weird to say because of that I got bored, or like it was the most boring space to be.
Yeah.
But I think for me, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but if I'm in a room, I want to be, like as an artist, in a room full of artists, right? I want to be the worst artist in that room.
I see why, though.
You know what I mean?
100% see why.
Because
I would much...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say, I would much rather that than the opposite.
Yeah, because if I'm the best guy in the room, that sucks, Like, I think that I'm doing something wrong, And really, it's not because they weren't better than I was. A good chunk of them. I could list off, a dozen names easy of guys who were like amazing, But there were only a handful, very, very few. I could count on 3 fingers, right off the top of my head, that really loved the process of storytelling. It was really boring. Now, comics is not just storytelling too. So if it wasn't even just talking about story, if it's talking about the making of, not just the pages, but we're talking about have you ever watched Cartoonist Kayfabe? Ed Piskor and
I've seen
Jim Rugg.
I've seen a couple of his videos.
Oh, the reason why I love watching those guys is because they're absolute nerds when it comes to the process of comics. Not just the writing of it, right? But also because they love the process of making it. They're publishers, you know what I mean? Like, they've done things on their own. They've done little zines on their own. They've done whatever it is, magazines. They've done little sketchbooks. They've done little ash cans, and they love the process of talking about. They have seemingly an encyclopedic knowledge of what it takes to make these comics, not just on the tactile, but also on the process, right? I don't know if you saw their episode where they look through Monster, the Barry Windsor Smith book that just got released maybe a month back.
No, I haven't checked that out.
So Monster originally was supposed to be, I think it was a pitch for a Hulk story that never came to pass, But I think either the pages had always been there, or X amount of pages had already existed, or maybe a combination of the story already kind of percolating in the back of his head. But finally he took it to a level of finish, and they took a look through it, they reviewed it. And you could just tell that they have a high level of regard for the craft. They kind of reverse engineer what they think Barry Windsor Smith is doing in regards to the technique that he's applying, right? And then ultimately they're evaluating his storytelling chops, not in a critical way in such a, but they were like helping to highlight what he's doing that really lands super well with him, really super positive stuff, really insightful stuff. Anyway, that gene, that sort of that muscle that they're exercising, that admiration for craft, is something that I didn't really find in the comic book industry. Right?
Honestly, that is disheartening.
Well, no, I don't think it comes from a bad place. So I've thought about it, right? Most guys will become professionals, right? Go to these comic book conventions, and 9 times out of 10, these dudes are like working in solitude, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, depending on what their work-life balance looks like. And then here they are at a convention in a room full of their peers. Some of them are very well celebrated and respected. And they can kind of, they can kind of be, and I use this term loosely, they can be social, And the
Yes.
last thing on their minds is to think about comics more or the craft more, right? So it's the last thing that they want to do is be like at a convention trying to sell their stuff, trying to sell their originals, or just basically being salesmen. And then after hours to go, hang out somewhere and talk about crafts some more, But that's the shit that turns me on,
I'm with you, dude. Dude, I remember. Do you remember a handful of years back at New York City Comic Con? After the con, we went out to dinner and came back, and weren't we sketching in your place?
Yeah.
At like 1 o'clock in the morning, just sketching.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I do. Is people get really super bored of trying, between Mateo Scalera and Sean Crystal. That's all they do is like hang out, enjoy the nightlife of the city because they're hardworking guys who get their pages done. But when they're away, from their responsibilities, all they want to do is sort of like decompress and do anything else. But for me, I'm like, I draw at the show because whatever commissions are in front of me, I drew before we got there because of whatever work that I was doing. But after hours, I just go back to the room and draw because I find a lot of fulfillment in that. Right? I know that's borderline obsessive. I think actually it's not borderline. It's way over the line of obsessive. But I find more enjoyment in that. And I think, going back to what I was talking about 5 minutes ago, I think that's the reason why the comic book industry, at least when I was breaking in, really bored me. Because in as much as they were successful at the thing that they did, I don't know if they wanted to do more. I never got the inkling, and mind you, I didn't do too much digging. This is all just kind of like on first glance, you know what I mean? Like on my first impressions, right? It didn't really seem like they wanted to dig and get better at craft. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I understand the love for comics, and I think that's why my sort of affinity for, I understand the love for comics, but really wanted to get good at drawing. I didn't share that experience with anybody. I didn't have that kinship with anyone, So I think that's why my love for comics, in as far as, drawing them, at least that in that immature version of my brain back in the day where I looked external as opposed to looking internal, I think that's why I kind of fell out of love with it, Because I wasn't finding that kinship. I wasn't finding that pool of people that I was sort of had grown accustomed to when I was first trying to break in. I had like a garage full of friends who were all trying to break into the comic book industry back in mid 90s, late 90s, right? Like around Image Boom .2 or whatever the heck. And we were all trying to break in. We understood that the barrier to entry was really, really difficult, if not impossible, to get through, right? So each of us sort of went into fields that were definitely art-related, like animation as environment and background designers, right? But not into comics. And then people started treating... Do you remember my buddy Jannard from last week who was hanging out with us, right?
Of course.
Like, Jannard was one of those guys. It was his garage that I hung out in. But I think those guys sort of became, it was a struggle to get into the industry, to finally get a paying gig as an artist. And when it became that job for them, it became the job. And they did everything else but when they weren't doing that anymore. Does that make sense? And it's a way for their, I think it's fair. It's not a criticism, it's more of an observation. Whereas if I go into work and my expectancy is not to project my attitude and my sort of conduct into other people, but when I go into work, I do my animation job and I come home, I just want to draw some more, The friends that I used to stay up all night doing that with they had metamorphosed into the people that they ended up becoming, right? They had different interests. Sure, they drew for a living. They designed like amazing animated TV shows for a living. But rare did I see them go like, hey, let's go do this again. You know what I mean? Let's go do this after hours. It's almost like, hey, let me go do something else, right? And so that was interesting for me, right? Because I couldn't find that kinship. And so I think part of my affinity for like, dude, I want to keep drawing comics because comics is so much fun, or drawing is so much fun. And oh my gosh, I get to draw. And comics was sort of a dream to be in. And I think, and mind you, I fully admit that that's a fault on me, you know? Like I did not have the mechanism to look internally and go like, how do I keep this going without the external factor of just like, oh, so the only way I'll succeed is having people around me that draw? That's stupid, you know? But I didn't have it in me yet, you know what I mean? So it was an interesting time in my life where I had to go analyze that and then find something else to be completely immersed with. And a lot of that now, the thing that keeps me engaged is if I don't know how to do something, right? And that rolls right into crowdfunded comics. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Crowdfunding is such an amazing, if you're looking at it from a different perspective, it's incredibly intimidating because the only thing that it holds the same to mainstream comics is the fact that it's comics, right? Like, the actual physical comic is the only thing that it has in relative similarity, right? Everything else is different. And what I mean by that is, when you go into mainstream comics, the infrastructure is built in for you. There are often times when I think of successful artists and successful authors who are writing and drawing like these really super popular, A-tier titles. I think to myself like, and this is the cynical part, so forgive me, okay? I often think to myself,
of course,
independent of you, that book is going to sell anyway. You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, listen, that's maybe cynical, but it's true. It's true, you know?
Right. Right. It's not as if an A-tier book was selling let's say some random number, right? Like, 20,000, 30,000 copies a month. You know what I mean? And then here comes super writer A and super artist B, and suddenly that thing doubles. You know what I mean? Those books are going to sell independent of your participation. Maybe there'll be a bump because you're on it. There's proof of that. And I bet you I could reach out to my buddy Perch and he'll probably be like, oh yeah, when so-and-so came on this book, there was a 10% bump, you know? But 10% isn't going to keep the lights on, right? My point is, the book is going to be the book independent of anything else. It just sells. No matter what, it's going to sell, right?
Yes.
That's the difference. Exactly, because the people know the IP, right? Spider-Man is going to sell X amount of copies if it has a less than stellar artist on it than if it had an A-tier artist on it, you know? At least I'm convinced, and something has to be pretty profound for me to be unconvinced of it, that an artist of a very, very high caliber is suddenly going to move such, significant numbers that they are the thing that is bringing the heat to that title. You know what I mean? The title exists already, regardless of them. They just kind of help facilitate a few more eyeballs. They bring their crowd into it, or their fans into it. Spider-Man's going to sell independent of an artist that's super hot, X-Men is going to sell independent of a super hot, super awesome artist. And that is to me, that is the divining. What is that? That is the amazing filtering process of crowdfunding comics, right? Because you have to do everything that you can to build an audience. Number one, just to get the attention of an audience, and you know how fucking, how difficult that is just to retain people's attention sometimes, So you have to get the attention of the audience. And then you have to go produce the thing that they want to come back. They want to come get, right? Or they want to come and support. And if you do it, you have to do it in such a way that they want to come back again and support it again. And so the infrastructure of Batman and Superman and mainstream success, like the built-in successes of those books, you can't count on. People who are on those mainstream books. Right? The people who are on those mainstream books, should they ever move laterally into crowdfunded comics or projects that are under their own steam, it is rare that in my opinion, they have to go and rejigger their metric of success. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care who you are. There's a rare few. There's a rare exceptional few that if they go and do their own thing, they're going to be just as successful as the thing that happened, the thing that they were working on previously. Sure. I'm going to go back to my chat real quick and see, check in really quick. Let's see here. Where was I when I left off? Eric, do you have reference folders? Yes, but I don't keep them very tidy, so it's very difficult for me to find them again if I ever have an opportunity, or like if I ever have an inkling to refer back to them. So it's sort of self-defeating. I end up screenshotting a bunch of references. I put them in a reference folder, and I don't bother relabeling that. I relabeling those folders so that I know exactly what's in them. I don't know what your folder management rituals are, Mike, but mine are freaking poor. Wilson says, "I love this page. Thank you so much." And by the way, I have stuff to talk about when it comes to ATHENA, so let me jump on that as soon as I'm done I'm catching up with everybody on chat. My feelings are absolutely destroyed. My emotional situation is unfathomable. I cannot put into words my feelings. My night has been ruined. I think you ruined Decoy's night, buddy. El Padrino says, "Dude, this page is a masterpiece. Thank you so much. Those people don't talk to Mike anymore." I don't know what people don't talk to you anymore, Mike. Which people? It's all because the hip dollar store Bruce Lee banned me. Is that the name that they called you? The hip Bruce Lee dollar store? Yeah, I think that was Decoy that said that. Seeing your art, Eric, makes me want to draw more and quit at the same time. Don't quit. Keep drawing. Keep paddling along. You take the front end of the boat. I'll take the back end. We'll paddle together. Isn't Francis a Canadian? Canadians are nice. I've lived among them. Francis is Canadian. He's very, very nice. I hope he didn't have a disparaging word to say about you. Or about your art, Mike. John DeMore says he draws for about 10 to 14 hours. That's a lie. I don't believe that for a second. Proof or it didn't happen? No, he doesn't. That's a fucking lie. I cannot possibly believe that. And you know, in the Philippines, they don't even have 10 to 14 hours. Eric, will ATHENA have a digital version? I like having a PDF where I could read everywhere. There's no plan for it, JK. I have been, and not because I am against it, but I just have not planned for a digital version. But the majority of my energy has been trying to make a printed physical copy first. I'm prioritizing that, but it's not to say there won't ever be one. There just isn't one right now. Sweet Tooth, how are you? Good evening. Jasper Plan 9, good evening. How are you? Thank you so much for this link. If you guys already haven't checked out Urban Animal on Webtoons, John Moore is putting his heart and soul and his fake 10 to 14 hours into that, so please go check it out and follow him if you can. What's John talking about when it comes to validation? Oh, when we're trying to break into the industry, trying to get the validation from pros in the industry? Yeah, sure. Then why do you stay in Sled Gang if you hate being the best guy? Aw, John, gross. Because it's not a competition in Sled Gang. It's just us hanging out. Duh. I feel like Wildstorm is a passion. Is it? I can hear you. I can hear you, friend. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you now. I can hear you. Michael, I can hear you. Etc. were more commercially motivated. I think Rich. I mean, it's I think they had their heads screwed on straight when it comes to. Why is that so loud? You know what's going on? I can't hear you on, what do you call it? Yeah, no, I can't hear you on my channel. You dropped out. Hold on, stand by. That is so freaking weird, dude. Yeah, you just dropped out. Okay, hold on. Let me fix it. I think it's on my end. I am still streaming though, right? Yeah. I think it's this, I don't know why this thing that I'm using suddenly cacked out. Can you talk?
Yes, here I am, and I'm talking,
There you are.
and here I am.
There you
No
are. Okay.
audio.
Audio. Okay, so for whatever reason, my, this digital equalizer, or what is it called? Like the,
Is it voice meter or is it something else?
no, it's something else. It's the one that comes with Elgato.
Oh, I've never used that one.
I can barely hear you now.
Oh shit.
I got you cranked all the way up, buddy.
Yeah. Oh wait, you got me cranked all the way up, and you got me cranked all the way up, and you still can't hear me. Should maybe reset the Discord?
No, don't. Stay there. I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly.
All right.
All right,
here I am.
Jesus Christ. Okay, let's catch up with chat. Sorry about that.
Hey, what's up, Trevino? What's up, everybody?
Hello, Sweet Tooth. How are you? I already say hello to Jasper Plan 9. Let's say hello again. Validation. Got it. Wildstorm. I like when CK talks about print process. Tech details I can relate. Since I have a print pre-press background, that is freaking awesome. That is a uncelebrated skill set for sure. Eric, you should have Richard Friend on. He's a great on stream and good talking process. 100%. I'm a huge fan of Richard. He's one of the guys that me and Dustin Nguyen hung out with back in the day at Wildstorm when he and Dustin were working on the same project. I think Rich was the one that was inking him on Wildcat. So we got a long-standing relationship. Got a ton of respect for Rich and his work. John Malin, hello. Most want celebrity more than to do any serious body of work that pushes anything. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. Like, do they actively, not actively, but are they accidentally handcuffed because it is such, mainstream comics, right? If they ever decided to, I'm trying to gather my thought about that statement. I don't know if it's part that they're not encouraged to try anything different because it is mainstream comics, right?
Yeah.
Or they understand mainstream comics and they don't push because they know it just wouldn't work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that? Like, if you got a job and for sure you're working on the most, I mean, let's be honest, it's not, X-Men isn't profound, you know what I mean? It's just like, at least it wasn't, I don't know what it is now, but back when it's meant to be like really good storytelling, but you're not going to be doing Dave McKeon stuff on there,
Right.
So you're going to want to do something a bit more commercial. You're going to want to do something a bit more consumable, right?
Yes.
But then to John's point, in the wide band that is consumability, are they even challenging themselves to grow? You know what I mean? That's an interesting concept to me.
Do they have any motivation to do so?
Yeah, and there's got to be a lot of things that feed into that. If you think about it, like these guys, again, this is my old expectation because I'm of like 1990s trying to break into comics version, right? Like I'm
Yes.
the late 80s collecting version of myself that anytime I broke in or anytime I would ask a pro, I'd be like, hey, what do I need to break into comics? And they'd be like, you need to draw 22 pages a month. And I'm like, oh, holy crap, that's a lot,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's even a prerequisite anymore with modern comics, right? So
Wow,
you have
really?
to cater. I don't know. I have not done any sleuthing. What I do know is that there are a few guys that I looked up to, like Paul Smith and Mark Silvestri. Those guys were facilitating a style that will allow them to meet that monthly deadline.
Yeah, no, it's
So,
tight
but
deadline.
if it's not even a prerequisite anymore, like what the fuck, comics? Like what are your standards now?
You know what? I wish I knew, man. I wish I do. I don't know what the standards are.
Yeah,
I truly don't.
I don't either.
Yeah, when it comes to storytelling too, I'm guessing Marvel. There's no way Marvel is gonna let you rock the boat whatsoever.
I'm trying to think of the
assuming-
last Marvel artist that was so out of line for their brand. You know? But to be honest with you, I don't even know what their brand is anymore. I'm sorry I'm picking on Marvel, but I don't know DC Comics all that well. I was never a DC kid.
You know, dude, you know, Yoji in my chat just brought up an interesting idea. We do know a couple of guys who are at Marvel right now. Bernard Chang being one of them.
Sure. But I think
was-
that, and this is not a slight against Bernard, but I think Bernard is right in the groove of what Marvel likes for their books, you know? Like he is the most sort of digestible, you know, with a little bit of edge to him, right? But I wouldn't say he's, would you say he's experimental? I saw a page layout of his that I was like, the fuck are you doing, Bernie? Keep in mind, laying out pages is completely subjective, right? I just got through talking to somebody about this offline, in as far as like, you know, opting for clarity always, you know? And sometimes you get into these, like I heard somebody once say like, comics is a great medium and you should never compare it to film because there's so many things that in comics that you can't do in film. And I'm like, that's interesting. I never thought of it like an added, there are things that you can do in comics that is so much like more of a leg up than movies or animation. But at the end of the day, it should still be clear, right? Like, and should still be able to understand what the freaking point of the panels are, right?
Yes.
Can everybody hear Mike again? Yes?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? Toon says Olivier Coipel was that artist.
Okay, let me catch up really quick. Yeah, and there's another thing to that point that John had said in as far as celebrity, because I don't know what made people think being a celebrity in mainstream comics means anything.
It means nothing, dude. I actually got into an
nothing,
argument with a guy
dude.
once.
Say again?
I got into an argument with a guy.
You did?
Dude, do you remember when Warren Ellis got in all that trouble and he like self-canceled himself off of like all his books?
Yeah.
And it was because, and this is again, I might be wrong, I might be speaking out of school, feel free to correct me, but on the dig, on the info dig that I did, I could not find any evidence that he broke the law, did any kind of quote-unquote grooming. It sounded like it was a 30-something-year-old man hooking up with 20-something-year-olds at the bar and whatnot at comic book conventions. And a friend of mine was like, he's like, yeah, but you gotta think of he was in a position of power. I'm like, dude, he's a fucking comic book writer, man. He's like, dude, you know a normal person walking down the street doesn't know who the fuck he is? Like, don't get power dynamics talking about me like as if he's
Maybe
like
they're talking
Cosby or
about
Weinstein
within
or
the
something.
comic. Maybe they're talking about within the
Even
comic book
then,
industry.
dude.
I'm with you. Listen. I'm
dude.
trying to play devil's advocate in that conversation, but you know how I feel about that situation. I think it's absolute turd. That is a crap
laughable.
conversation. Okay,
Warren
so
Ellis with his immense power. He's Dr. Doom.
get the fuck out of here. No, my attitude is like,
Sorry.
I don't know when people started being accountable. You know what I mean? Like, I know that the argument is like, oh, did he promise them that he would get them jobs? Did he promise them that he would, get them work or, get them money, whatever it is, right? Like to basically, to return the favors for this unique position that he's in, he would, whatever, he would, solicit sex or, you know what I mean? Like favors. Right. Like, okay, so here's the thing. The thing that he did, okay, I want to be clear. A guy like Warren Ellis, and he's not unique, right? You can just be an asshole.
Yeah.
You can just be an absolute turd of a human being that's using your position and blah, blah, blah. We don't have to get into these conversations about like grooming you because it makes you sound stupid.
Yeah, no. Listen, and also, by the way, if it was transactional, again, that does take two adults to do.
Yeah.
And it is not like, you know, it's not like Warren Ellis holds in the palm of your hand with all his immense comic celebrity,
Yeah. Yeah.
the power to ruin you.
I don't freaking get
It's
it,
like,
man.
dude,
It is to say that I don't understand all sides of it, right, Mike? Like, both you and I have talked about this already, but I'm leaning more on this side, in which I don't know when Warren Ellis became like Bela Lugosi levels of Dracula, you know?
Right.
Where he's just like hypnotizing people to do his will, you know?
I remember it was like yesterday. I was at the bar, and then slowly through emerging from the shadows, from the ceiling himself, down came Warren Ellis.
Right.
And the bar was cold and dim, and he sulked through the shadows until he found a wee lass to inflict his comic celebrity on. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Get out of here, man. Comic celebrity. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
JK is asking Eric, what iPad are you using? Size and generation 2018, the one right before the M1 chip that just got released. And I think this is like the biggest one, so it's 11.5, 12? I don't know. I can't remember.
I have a 2018. I have the 12.9
There you
iPad
go.
Pro.
Similar one as you. Everybody's saying rip Mike. I can hear Eric, but not the guest. Well, it's not. This was a little while ago.
Oh,
this was a little while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you came back.
I'm back,
And
baby.
have I already said hello to Mona? Hello, Mona. How are you?
Hello, Mona. Hello,
Brendan
Bill
Walton.
Patrick.
Hello there, Eric. Glad I was able to make the live stream. Thank you so much for making time. I appreciate your company. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here as we make fun of people who are being controlled by Bela Lugosi, Warren Ellis, Dracula. Hello.
All right,
There
now
was the
Cameron
anti-Muslim
Stewart is a
artist from
different
X-Men
one.
Gold a few years back. Sure. Claremont's writing on X-Men in the 80s had weight to it. I agree 100%. But that is a different take of being off. I'm talking about artistically. Tunes, how are you? Olivier Copiel was that artist. I believe so. I think Olivier opened the X-Men up to that look, right? In as much as Stuart Immonen opened the X offices up to that look, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Question, if an artist has a very unique and personalized style, should you expect an artist to experiment in other directions or stick what works? Example is Jock, Wen, Pope, interiors, not on covers. How do you mean? Like, storytelling is storytelling, right? Like, if it's clear, if you can tell what the heck is going on, and ultimately, if it you have to establish what your goals are. If the storytelling is clear, and it tells and it's in line, it fits the theme of the comic that's being drawn. Because I can't imagine Paul Pope drawing freaking My Little Pony,
Right.
But like, and then at the end, if it sells units, right? Like if it helps keep the lights on, I don't know why you would not consider utilizing it. But I think you're asking about experimentation. Yeah, why not?
Hey, Ninja.
Ellis left on his own. I don't even think he was actually fired. Yeah, I think Mike said that. He self-selected out, which is kind of kooky on the other hand. Cameron Stewart on the other hand. Oh, right. There's another fellow.
Yeah, Cameron Stewart is a different story altogether, though.
I don't know if Bella is following up on a question that somebody asked. I'm unsure of the answer, but if you sign up for a newsletter, you'll be first to know that info. Thank you so much for that, Belle. Ellis did nothing wrong. That's why they had to make it up. I'm with you. I saw in my experience, and it's not in my MO, right? To do that level of what do you call it, Mike? What did he call it?
Crow?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd assume it was quid pro quo.
I guess that's what they were accusing him of, right? I mean, that's the only way that power dynamic accusation would work, right?
Right.
Because if it was just like, hey, I like you, Warren Ellis, then you just like, then that argument or that sort of accusation goes out the window. Z Ryan, sure brushes the hypnosis under. His show Castlevania got another spin-off, right? Test Fowler built that website. She needs to go away. Oh, right. Which website? Oh, where people were signing
website?
up with the accusations for against Warren Ellis. Wait,
Jeez, what the hell?
the things that people do to try to remain relevant, man. It's just people who had a relationship
Jeez.
with Warren Ellis, didn't work out, and they're sad. Now he's an abuser because he uses Warren Ellis to convince them to go out with him. I'd like to hear the other side of that argument. Of all your jobs, is there one in particular that you keep seeing and really love, or once you do, forget it and prefer not to see it again? What is the last thing that I saw? Because the only reason I even I enjoy watching it is because I rarely saw it when it first came out. Is when I did storyboards for Disney on Tron, because that thing was shown at some ungodly hour in the morning. I didn't really get to see the episodes live, so when I do get an opportunity to watch an episode or two, especially the ones that I worked on, primarily because of ego, but mostly, jokes aside, mostly it's because that show was so undervalued and underrepresented. It would do so
Yes.
much better now in any sort
What
of
a gem.
in any one of their streaming services.
Oh my
it's
god, it
been-
would have been Netflix sensation.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't, and it deserved more as far as like the crew that was working on it, the writers and the artists, the directors, the designers, everybody was such top-notch talent. That's why I have such a hoot remembering my experience on that show. So
Yeah, no. Dude, I've yet to meet a person who didn't like Uprising or think it was incredible.
hi Eric, have you tried Clip Studio Paint on iPad? No, I have not. I kind of had this love affair with Procreate. Eric, how many pages do you have per issue? What a great segue. What a great call out. Okay, so here's the thing. I spoke to my, I should update everybody on ATHENA stuff. So I spoke to the printers. Now I'm in the space of, we are so far ahead. I want to start formatting the pages and getting them ready for the artist edition. I don't know if you guys, if I what do you call it then? If I made that clear to everybody, that I'm doing an artist edition for every issue. So that's 48 pages on 11 by 17, just black and white, no dialogue, no color, right?
And white.
So I wanted to
getting
get
that
that already set up and ready to go at the printer so that as the campaign ends, they just press the go button and it just starts printing, right? I want to be that far ahead in the pre-production process, you know? But in doing so, we were discovering that there was we needed to have a minimum page count for it to be in hardcover. Oh, by the way, have I already announced that in each issue of ATHENA is going to be 56 pages in hardcover? Right. So hardcover, just the dollars and cents nature of it all. If you're going to have, oh gosh, what is the name of have you ever looked down the length of a book, Mike, and see that the pages are bundled in a hardcover book, right? They're bundled in such a way. Yeah, it's like binding, but there's the name for it. It's not chapters, it's something else. It's a word that I keep hearing, I keep reading, and then people go
Group
like,
binding? Fuck.
No,
I forget what
no.
the fuck it's called.
It's the way the way it's like they fold 8 pages together, and then they fold it and stitch it, and another 8 pages, and they fold it and stitch it, and they.
Well, it's not perfect binding, right?
No. Perfect binding is just like they glue everything into the spine. Anyway,
right.
if I were to ask my wife right now, she'd be like, "How many times do I need to freaking tell you this?" You know. So anyway, in order for that to make dollars and cents, right? They can do any page count that you want, but it starts costing more, and this is surprising, when there's less than the maximum amount per bind. Does that make sense? So if you have a 48-page book, right? Or, let's say you have a 42-page book, right? They have to subdivide that into X amount of pages, and whatever's left over is going to be this random folded piece of paper, and that somehow ends up costing more because it's not part of the traditional way of them doing things, And so, anyway, after we did the math, it would be better if this thing was 50. It's not saddle stitch, but I saddle stitch is like stapling.
The case binding?
No, No, it's each cluster that's folded and stitched. It's called something, and I keep wanting to say chapters, and I have not. Damn it! A bookbinder would know what it is. Anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Before I lose track of my point. The
Yeah.
thing
Of
is,
course.
it's going to be 56 pages. In its, what do you call it? 56 pages in its hardcover, but there's going to be 48 story pages. Does that make sense? So there is a supplement of, like, you know, all the sketches that I've done, maybe some of the script, definitely some of the rough, you know, some of the rough pencils for the pages, some of the pages that didn't make it into print because I'm changing things around so much, you know, or I've made additional changes, those kinds of, like, the first pass on the page. So those are all going to be in the supplementary material of this 56 page comic book. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think I think that answers what somebody said.
Hey, it's
56 page
is it
total,
called
48 page of story.
Story.
Hey,
Is
let's
it called
Everett.
Burst Perfect?
Oh, Jesus Christ, you guys are. Oh wow, you were on Tron. Is Alberto Mielgo cool? Big fan of that guy. Yeah, Alberto is amazing. I think that I've had the amazing privilege of being able to work next to and for and with a bunch of guys who are the actual guys that move the needle when it comes to their own body of work. Because if you look up Alberto Mielgo, right? Like, he does the commercial stuff because, and this is why I have such a high level of admiration and respect for this guy. Like, Alberto will sit there and just do the stuff commercially because he knows that's the stuff that'll, you know, pay him. And signatures, there you go. Raymond, thank you so much. Raymond gets no prize. It's called signature.
Signature bound.
No, it's not signature bound. Each what do you call it? Each set of 8 pages that are sewn together.
They're called signatures?
They're called signatures, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Jeez
shit,
Louise,
okay.
what the fuck? Anyway, so working with Alberto on Tron as the sort of art director, he set such a high standard on how that show is supposed to look that there was Disney, I don't think the production could have gotten away with less than what he had asked for. And so the only way they could accommodate that is to hire on a bunch of rock stars with him. You know what I mean? So on that team of environment designers were some of the most well-regarded people in the concept art industry, not the least of which like Rob Rupel, not the least of which like Craig Mullins, and so on and so forth, you know? And that's why that show looked as good as it did and probably cost as much as it cost, because these guys are all freaking amazing. But Alberto held such a high standard on how those environments were supposed to look executed, right? That they were compelled to hire on some of the best people. And if you're on that crew and Alberto is working really, really hard to establish such a high bar, you don't want to be the jerk that doesn't hold up that high bar, you know? So you do everything that you can to keep up with him, right? And it does not hurt that somebody like Robert Valley is on the crew with you designing characters, right? So here's my point. Like, guys like Robert Valley, guys like Alberto Mielgo, they do the stuff that gets them paid because whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they need to make money, you know? But then they'll go and do their own passion project that'll make you go like, what the fuck are you guys on right now? You know?
Valley's the one that did that, what the hell was it called? That one in Love, Death, and Robots, that season 1 about the android that was like a toaster or something. Did he do that one?
He just did one right now. I just saw his most. I haven't watched the most recent season of Love, Death, and Robots, but Robert's stuff is in there. But the stuff that he did on his own, the thing that he animated on his own is, something Pear and Cigarettes. You guys can find it. Look up Robert Valley, look up Pear and Cigarettes, and you'll be able to see the project that he's been animating on and off on his own anytime that he gets any free time. And that is a guy that pushes. That is the guy whenever the annoying and best part about working with Robert is then as soon as he's done storyboard, because he's such a, like, you know, to call him a triple threat is sort of like undervaluing him, you know. So after he's done designing, right, the guy can direct, and most importantly, he can storyboard, and that is a guy that you're like, whatever it is that he's doing looks so profoundly simple, but when you look at it from a storytelling perspective, it is so fucking good. It is so fucking good how well that guy can storyboard and how well that guy can tell a story. So working side by side with him, again, it sets a bar. There's another guy that I was working with on Tron. His name is Heiko, right? Heiko is like, I think I don't know if he gets enough credit, but he also helped to set a look and feel and tone of how we storyboarded on that show. So, you know, there's plenty of guys who get the credit, like Alberto, like Robert, and like Charlie being the executive producer. That was easy because they're at the front line. Anytime there's an interview, anytime that there's any talk about Tron, those guys get the love. But like, there's people on the crew where they help to uphold that standard that those guys set, and you didn't want to be the weakest guy on the chain. I mean, you know, you didn't want to be the weakest guy in the line, you know. I love
Zima Blue was the name of Robert Valley's Love, Death, and Robots season 1.
There you go.
Short. Zima Blue, but I haven't watched. Have you watched the latest season?
I have not. I'm so behind on stuff that I should be watching, but
same.
Yeah.
But wait, hey, I got a question for you. When you were working on Uprising,
yeah,
did you feel that pressure because the bar being set so high? Did you?
Yeah.
You know, did you second guess yourself?
100%. No. As a matter of fact, my first episode of Tron, everybody had already switched over to this program
Digital?
called Storyboard Pro.
Okay.
Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, and everybody was doing things digitally already because it just made things easy in the production line process, right? They could just take it, port it over into a digital file. They can go directly into the editing room with it. But I saw the stuff that they were doing, and I was like, geez Louise, that's such an awkward like, I was so hesitant to use that program because it seemed a little clumsy. It isn't. Once you get it, it's like, it's life-changing because it makes things so much easier, you know? Especially in Boys Action Adventure where there's like a gazillion drawings. But I remember when I got brought onto the show and I still was not comfortable with Storyboard Pro, so I felt like I needed to elevate the stuff that I was delivering, right? So I Copic markered all of my storyboards, right? And I don't know if you ever see, I mean, I showed you a version of what Boys Action Adventure looks like. It is literally 300 3-panel drawing, 3-panel pages,
Right,
closer to 400. So you multiply that by, 3 panels times 400 pages. That's how many images I Copic markered because I wanted to just show them, dude, I want to be on this show so bad. I want to be on this crew so bad. So yeah, I was intimidated.
Man. It's good to feel uncomfortable, nervous, a little anxious.
Well, yeah. I mean, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If it was up to me, I'd be the weakest guy in the room. And all of those guys were freaking rock stars.
Yeah, man.
Brandon McGranderson said it was beautiful.
Grow.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I think it's blocks of 8 pages is a leaf. No, it's closer to what Raymond said, which is a signature. JK says, Eric, do you use 3D models for your comics? Some of the environments are so intricate. Yeah, but I bullshit through these environments. But to answer your question, no, I don't use 3D models. I don't do environments that are like 100% accurate. I do environments I aim to make the environments just the right amount of believable. So you have an understanding of what that space looks like and you understand the characters exist inside them. I think there is a disconnect, and I can't remember what I saw that was overly critical of because they didn't even change the SketchUp model enough for it to be like, oh, that's so gross. Like, they put a lens. There was a comic book artist long time ago. I can't remember who it was. And I wouldn't want to, even if I remembered, I wouldn't want to name them by name. That's just like bad form. But like, I remember them using but it was definitely a Marvel comic. But they were using 3D models on the comic and it was obvious that it was SketchUp, and all they did was add the SketchUp filter, put a camera on it, so it kind of warped the perspective, but they didn't have the decency to like touch it up so it didn't even look like a 3D model. You know, I was like,
What a
you're a
nightmare.
professional comic book artist. Jeez Louise,
For
man.
Christ's sake. That's fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree.
And his name was John Amore.
And his name was John Amore. Hello, Rob, the replicator.
Hello,
my,
hello.
my guide, my crowdfunding Sherpa. He's never gonna lose that from me. Oz, how are you? Good evening. IBI, hello, how are you? You can end the stream now. The replicator is here. I think I can start the stream now. The replicator is here. Who is Eric talking to, and why isn't it me? Listen, Rob, we're gonna wrench. Can we wrench Rob? Can somebody who has a wrench Rob?
Can you duplicate the wrench? I don't think so. I think you've got to do it yourself, sir.
I've got to do it. Dumb.
I think you've got to do it.
That means I'm gonna go to my own stream and wrench Rob. All right, later. Eric, isn't Tom Hanks? He doesn't talk to volleyballers for footballs. What the heck? Oh, gotcha. Okay, am I all caught up? American Discord, Lanil on New Avengers was SketchUp one-on-one. Was it Lanil?
Was it?
Oh,
Lanil,
I
you?
can't freaking remember. I vaguely remember it was the Doctor Doom's Manhattan house. You know what I mean? The one with that very distinct window. And I looked at it and I was like, that's the 3D
Doctor
model.
Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah, what did I say?
You said Doctor Doom.
Sorry, Doctor Strange, yeah, and I was like, that's a 3D
Yeah.
model. Cheater.
Yeah. That sucks, man. Like if it's I don't know, if it's lazy enough where you could see it and know right off your head, oh, that's stiff
I'm of two
and
minds.
static.
Though. I'm of two minds. Listen to this. It's a monthly comic.
Right, later.
Right?
That's all.
You
an
gotta
excellent
get that.
counterpoint.
You gotta get that shit out the door, yo. You know?
Oh, it's true. Yep. It's easy to say when you're not the person who has to crank out all the pages.
Exactly. Hello, American Discord. How are you? You think I have to do that? I have to wrench Rob? Okay, I'll wrench Rob. I'll wrench Rob later. I can't do that. People are revolting against you, Rob. They don't want you wrenched for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on.
They want Rob wrenched.
I don't know why. Rob's a good guy, right? Is Rob a good guy? Thumbs up if Rob's a good
Look
guy.
at me. Chat.
Yeah, chat. Is Rob a good guy? Eric, do you do type pencils or do you move from rough directly to sketching? Yeah, that's a great question here. I can show you what the pencils look like just based on this page. This is the pencils for... have I turned everything off already? Okay, here. Oops. That's as clean as those pencils get before I start inking. Does that make sense? Turn all of that off now. Okay, so here's the other thing that that happened over the weekend. I don't know if I've ever mentioned the editor for ATHENA. His name is Joe Fulton. Joe, I think, has been doing his best to get caught up because I want to be able to have issue 1 locked and at the printers ready to be made into that artist edition. But also so that the letterer can start laying, like, you know, he doesn't have to wait for the colorist. Eric, his name is Eric Weathers. Eric can literally start lettering right now, you know? And my conversations with Joe are so great because Joe keeps me honest. There were sections during the weekend where he was going through the pages and he said something pretty great. He was like, I read the main antagonist and how you wrote her. And I can hear her voice. I can see it. It's consistent, except this part. Right?
Ooh.
And we went back into, I think it was issue 4, right? Near the fight scene of issue 4, right? And he said, like, it's the way she said this particular line that seemed uncharacteristic of her. And I was like, look at you amazing fucker, you know?
Love that.
And he really said, like, see, by putting this little thing at the end of this bit of dialogue, it seems so incredibly out of character for her. It seems too playful. It seems too, you know what I mean? because you established her to be this for 3 issues. When she says this, it's like, it's weird. I'm like, okay, what's the fix? And he's like, you could just take it out. You could just take out, like, it's 6 or 7 words. You can take out the last 2 words and it'll work. And then, like, we read it through. I nerd out about shit like that, and especially when a guy who's zoned into how to make a character be consistent, how to make dialogue work. We spent 10 minutes on which, because when I hand this over to the letterer, I want all the, pretty much all the emphasis in bold. You ever see that in old comics, Mike, where like the emphasis of the sentence is like in bold?
Yeah, it's thicker. Yeah.
Exactly. So like. We were bouncing back and forth where in this one sentence where the emphasis should be. Like we were reading it out loud, And in order to give him yeah, it is. It's absolutely it's enjoyable for me, but some people might think it's stupid, but I had a lot of fun. When I whenever I what makes characters easier for me to hear how they talk in my head is that I attach an actor to them.
Oh yeah, smart.
Right? And so sometimes it works perfectly, but sometimes, especially in the case of us experimenting how certain words are being said, you only hear how great that word is being said out of that actor's mouth, right? But on paper, when you're reading it, independent of that information, right? The audience is only reading it the way you write it. And so Joe and I were talking about that. And Joe goes like, yeah, it's important that it means exactly what you need it to say, because we can't hear it. And the example that I gave was like, the antagonist, I imagine as Helen Mirren. He's like, yeah, that's fucking awesome, but Helen Mirren isn't reading it. You literally have to write it in such a way that it's the most clear. And I was like, yeah, he's absolutely right, which is great.
No, that's invaluable. Hang on, I gotta pee. Be right back.
Get to it. Let me catch up with chat real quick when Mike is emptying his freaking bladder. See, look at that. American Discord says you're decent at best, Rob. That's a character thumbs up from that man. I'm into it. IBI says give Monkey a wrench and see the damage they do. Rob would be worth. Look at that. Wrench Rob. You hear that? Wrench Rob. Decent is a stretch. No, I agree with decent. Passable. It's better than passable. Sometimes he's a good guy. Other times he's not. Just what is this? Why are people talking about you like this, Rob? What did you do? It's digital. You can't sell the pencils, so no real reason to make them super clean. Yep. Huh? Rob is misunderstood. I think he did it to himself, don't you think so? 40 plus panels per week on Webtoon by your own and not using SketchUp. Good luck with your backache and social life. Oh, you know exactly where. Like, John Amore is a giant cheater because he uses 3D all the time, uses SketchUp. But he doesn't do it as elegantly as you do, buddy. He does it clumsy style. So you keep using SketchUp, you keep using 3D. I'm totally behind it. When John Amore does it, I will give him such grief. Because like I said, he does it ugly. Rob gives it as much effort as his barber did when he was cutting his hair. You hear that, Rob? These guys are anti-you. What the heck? Joe thinks more in depth than most people, for sure. Joe loves New Teen Titans, so he's okay with me. I didn't know that was a prerequisite. I didn't know that was a qualifier. As long as you like Teen Titans, Jasper Plan 9 is okay with you. Stop reminding Eric Shelby. I think I could link Arc Athena sign up if I had a wrench. You hear that bell? Link Arc Athena sign up, please. Eric, did you know you can check the time spent on each Procreate file? Yeah, I can. And I don't want to check the time. I don't want to look. Eric, any chance of a line art edition? Yes. The answer is yes. And it's going to be on. The printer sent me a sample of this thing, right? Carpet. I'm not familiar with the artist or this project, so forgive me. They sent this to me as a sample of how big the black and white edition is going to look. So it's going to be 11 by 17 saddle stitch, that size, 48 pages big. 48 pages long. 48 pages. What did Robocopter do? He turns his camera on when he's... Oh yeah, we're dissing John. I'm all for this. Rob, are you able to make the Rob and Mike show an hour earlier? Listen, John, I mean that complimentary. You do things messy. I mean that in the best way possible. We aren't necessarily anti-Rob. We're just anti-Stu. How do I take that off the screen? Did I ever get that gadget for my iPad? You told us you would inform us about it. I think it had something to do with hotkeys. Yes. I am going to send it to Mike because I realize I don't have a good use for it. So it's on its way to Mike now, soon-ish.
What's on its way to me?
The hotkeys keyboard.
The Procreate thing?
For Procreate, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on that.
Yeah. All right, so the other thing that we come to the decision as far as the I forgot the fucking word again. Signatures. As far as the signatures is concerned, is that it would be best if there was 48 story pages, but as I went back, I started realizing there were some issues that were like 50, some issues that were like 43, some issues like 41, and I was like, oh, I can't. There's no way to take full advantage of the cost benefit of making sure that it's at 48, right? So I went back, and it was a great, again, another great conversation with Joe, because I gave Joe the themes of what the 5 issues were going to be, and then, you know, I don't know who said it. I don't know who came up with the idea first, but I think I was like, it was something like along these lines. Hey Joe, I'm gonna need to add pages to each of these issues, but it's not going to be fluff. It's actually going to be going back towards the theme that we were talking about earlier, based on the 2 main characters. And then he goes, right, because as I was reading through the issues, I didn't feel like you had landed that enough. So I'm really glad that you're going back and adding those necessary scenes in. And I read off the things that I wrote for each issue to help really land character. And he was like, that's freaking awesome. That really works. And I'm like, dude, you gotta tell me if that sucks. He goes, nope. Totally works. You'd prefer 11 by 17 books as a hardcover. Is that a possibility? I mean, it is a possibility. It's not cost effective. Especially for the kind of pages that it is. It's only like 48 page, 11 by 17. Most of those artist editions are easily 4 issues, 5 issues each. So it wouldn't make much sense to produce, if that makes any sense. Soft covers get beat up, get wavy pages from Unity stored wrong. It's a pain. I understand that pain. I understand we're going to do our very best to put the kind of cover stock on it that won't allow it to get all that wavy. But seriously, it starts to become the cost effectiveness of it all, especially once you start shipping it, you know?
Oh yeah, that's pricey, man.
Yeah.
To ship something heavy.
Yeah. Each of the, what do you call it? The individual issues in and of themselves are going to be hardcover already, so we're going to have that working in our favor. I keep drawing.
Oh yeah, Eric. When you flash your pages there, I did notice, man. You have got it looks like you've got 3 stages. You've got the roughs.
What?
It looks like you've got like. It looked like you had 3 layers, right? Inks, roughs, and thumbnails. Is that what it was?
No. What the hell? What are you looking at?
I could have sworn I saw. Was it just pencils and inks?
It is, baby.
What the hell did I see?
I have no freaking idea. The pages that I'm working on right now are either the ones that I'm adding or the ones that I'm amending. And there's a bit of reshuffling pages-wise, so that everything makes sense. Wait a second. Now you got me questioning my own process, dude. How many layers are in this thing? Yeah, there's 3. There's the roughs, right? There's the inks, and then there's the
Yeah.
panel borders.
Okay, got you.
You got me questioning myself, yo. This one.
Scott wants to know what the keyboard's called. And what's up, Seki? What's up, Rat Taylor? What's up,
I
Nikki?
freaking forgot. It's over there somewhere. Scott, I'm gonna keep drawing. If that's okay with you. I will, I had it on, where did I have it? Was it on social media? Was it on Twitter? I'll update. Now, it's a fine instrument, by the way. It comes off as a tiny bit cheap because it's all plastic, right?
Yes.
But as far as its functionality is concerned, it really is, it's pretty dang good, right? Now, here's the thing. If you're already used to, if you've already become accustomed to the way the interface is for Procreate, it feels like you're having to relearn an entirely new thing once you already have the mannerisms down. You know what I mean, Mike? It's like, once you have this hotkey set up so that, the menu just pops up because you press the center button, unless you really want the similar experience as you would be doing in Photoshop, you would have to retrain yourself, which isn't bad, right? It's just that in the middle of a production, in the middle of me drawing pages, the last thing I want to be doing is slowing down, trying to learn to learn the other implement,
Yes, good point.
So I would rather do it on the whatever next project that I end up doing, just not right now, because I just feel like it would slow me down more than give me the advantage of having hotkeys.
Yeah. On the bright side, though, if you were to learn it and get good at it,
Yeah.
for your next project, it might
Well,
actually save you some time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm willing to put it through the paces like that. Next project. Just not this one. These Procreate guys did a pretty freaking bang up job making this thing as intuitive as possible,
So intuitive. I mean, like, it took me like a day, and then I was off to the races. Bell says, is it called egg tight? Ayok tight?
Yeah, that's it.
Ayotai?
That's it, Bob.
How the fuck do you pronounce that?
I have no idea. Let's see. Eric doesn't like moving. The answer is yes. Eric, what artists inspire the way you draw faces? Peter Chung probably is the closest analog that I can think of. I think he's the guy that I grew up watching and admiring by way of body of work. So he was the guy that I wanted to be after I realized that I wasn't going to be very, very good at comics, We are waiting for the update where we can use 3D inside Procreate. Huh, that's interesting. Mike, what do you think of that? Using 3D inside Procreate. What do you think?
I wouldn't be opposed to giving it a shot.
Yeah, I kind of see how.
That could be fun.
I want to see how. What do you call it? How useful it is, right?
Why not, right? If you could integrate it into what you do, save time. Why the hell not?
The thing that I wouldn't want to happen, because in my opinion, I don't know if you feel the same way. Procreate is so lightweight, right? That I feel like adding more features into it has the potential. And I'm not saying it's going to, that it could have the potential danger of making it just as cluttery as Photoshop.
Photoshop, the Photoshop dilemma. Yes.
Like, because it does
That's
everything. It's like super chunky,
Yeah, it's cumbersome. Slows your computer down. Yeah.
So I hope that doesn't
yeah,
happen.
I'm good, Seki.
You did not expect that answer. Oh, the Peter Chung answer. Yeah, he was my mentor for the longest time. I was all of I may have been 21 when I worked with that guy for the first time, and I learned so much from that guy. So Eric, do you prefer Procreate or do you just like to switch it up? Hello, Brandon. How are you? I prefer Procreate. 9 times out of 10. Failed Superheroes Club. Thank you so much for being here. Hello. Good evening. 9:27. Jeez, man. Where did the time go? Bell says, yeah, I do like how intuitive Procreate is. It's just easy to use and does what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember the last time that I saw Procreate lag. Mike? Bell?
No.
Procreate users in chat?
No lagging. It's so fucking straightforward.
Yeah. You want a ruler. Scott G says he wants a ruler in Procreate. What does that mean? Like, what kind of ruler are you speaking of? Still thinking about Peter Chung. Your art makes so much more sense to me. I can't unsee the Peter Chung influence. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I owe that guy so much, not just for the style that he helped to help foster in me, but also the style that he had established that I'm consistently cherry picking from to this day. Have you ever in earnest tried to write your own story, Mike?
Not in full. I've dabbled.
Yeah.
Little snippets here and there, but nothing like you're doing. Why do you
I was
ask?
gonna say, like, in what capacity? At what capacity, and how far did you get?
Good. I did like a little I sketched like a little sci-fi, I wrote a little like sci-fi, I think like 6-page story of a dude going out and finding like a fungus thing, and then like a post-apocalyptic world where this like janitor type goes out and like he's just doing like the janitorial stuff, and then he gets bitten by like a mushroom or something, and then slowly starts turning into a monster, like with his cohorts.
Fuck, that sounds awesome. And you never did anything.
No, I just did it for me, and it looked like shit, and I was like, the story sucks and the art sucks even worse, so I said fuck it. And then after that, and then I worked on John's thing, Wizard Commando, where John wrote it, and I like helped co-create it, but like nothing like what you're doing, man. I admire seeing you do this. Have you done this before? Have you written a full comic?
Always everything up to I've written things, or I've come up with, no, actually I've written things, everything except for the third act. The third act is the hardest shit. The third act of this was one of the most difficult exercises I've had to go through.
Oh shit.
Because you have to, you set up so much, you set up so many concepts, you set up so many things that need to pay off. Not just on a technical level. This isn't just like a puzzle piece where things need to fall into place and suddenly you have a great story, which is, I think, a pretty challenging enough concept. But you also have to like pay it off emotionally, right? I'm not saying that this thing is gonna like freaking make you cry or anything, but at the very least, I want the payoff to make sense of why these people have been interacting, or why these people interact the way they do, right?
Right.
It just needs to pay off, and that's the part that took the longest to sort of come to terms with.
Oh, Scott wants a ruler because he zooms in way too much. and needs a reference for size.
Oh, interesting.
Do you zoom in, Eric? Are you a zoom inner?
Yeah, I mean, like once in a great while, I will. And Scott, I think there's a solve for that. There is not a plugin, but a layer that you can buy, that you can overlay on top of your images. You know what I mean? That you can continue to import as an added layer that has the grid with that ruler written into it.
Ooh.
Does that make sense? So you always have that point of reference, and you can always like ramp down the opacity so that you don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be obtrusive. Where did I see that? If I remember where it is, I'll put it up on Twitter and get it to you. But I understand why that would be helpful. The reason why I ask, if you've ever written a story, is John still in the room? Because I want to get his input and his opinion on this, right? Which is
where did he go?
Like there's a ton of different things that you have to negotiate when you're trying to write and finish, and you're trying to write a script. Especially when it's like high concept. And I was watching this YouTube channel by a guy of the name of Thomas Flight. I don't know if do you know his YouTube channel? Anybody else?
Unfamiliar.
Know this guy YouTube channel? He had a very interesting, very, very interesting recent episode in which he talks about exposition. Right?
Okay.
And he kind of, because when you do exposition correctly, it feels supernatural. Like really like, oh, that's part of the story. That's not some guy just like breaking the fourth wall and looking right into camera. And basically like, they say things like show, don't tell, right? They say things like that. Yeah?
Yes.
But showing takes so much work, right? As opposed to some guy just turning to you and being like, oh, here are the rules of this particular world, right? But there are actually ways that you can make that experience from a reader standpoint feel more natural than just to kind of like vomit out the information. And he was using Christopher Nolan's movies as a point of reference, right? He uses three. One is Inception, one is Interstellar, and one is the most recent one, Tenet, right? He's saying in Tenet, it's where Christopher Nolan was the most egregious when it came to just spitting out information, spitting out exposition.
I didn't see Tenet.
Oh, you didn't see Tenet?
I did see the other ones though.
Okay, so here's a prime example. Like he was talking about like how you can use narrative and exposition to explain complex concepts, right? So let's use it. You guys can watch this video. So I'm just regurgitating everything that came out of that video, but now that I have your attention. So like in the concept of Inception, right? There are these visual storytelling devices like the opening sequence in Inception, right? That is definitely a show not tell moment, right? So here's this thing where they're in the dream state, right? Everything in the dream state moves so much slower, and as soon as they cut into the real world, the guy's wristwatch kicks back on into full speed, right? That's a great show not tell, but you still like, why are you showing me that? Is that clear to the audience that that's what's happening? 3 stages deep, time moves much slower, and in real world, time obviously moves at a particular speed, right? But that is a show not tell, right? The other one is when like Leonardo DiCaprio's character is walking through
Juno.
Yeah,
Ellen Page's character.
Right. Is it Ellen? Is it because do we call her Ellen
Page.
because she was still Ellen in that? Okay. I don't know the rules.
Yeah, at the time. But wait. What is that character called? The one like the character who acts as the audience member in the movie.
Fuck, I don't remember. Juno. I'm just calling her Juno.
Like,
okay. So like
you know what I mean? Like that character design where it's like he explains it to her, but really he's explaining to us. Like the audience standing
the
character.
audience.
What do you call that character?
That's the audience. You mean as the mechanical name of that the functional name of, like, you don't call her, not the character, right? The actual right. That's, I don't know. I'm sure there's a name for it. I'm sure there's a name
but go
for
on,
it.
finish.
Okay, so here's Leonardo DiCaprio telling Ellen Page exactly what's happening in the world. Now, it makes sense for him to tell her that because it's in context, because she doesn't know what it is, right? She's having to be told the rules of what the dream world is, and it makes a whole lot of sense because he's now just like saying it to her, you know? But there are also instances in Inception where characters say something and you go like, there's no reason why you would say that right now. One of which is when, and again, it's in this video, in this YouTube channel, one of which is when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character like kicks that guy off the stairs, and it's that infinite steps kind of thing, but he falls off the side anyway, right? And he like leans the guy off the side of the stairs, and right before he drops him or pushes him off, he goes like, parallax, and he throws him off or some shit like that. He names the thing that he had said to Ellen Page earlier in the movie, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. You did that for the audience. Why would you say that in the middle of a fight?
Right.
See what I mean? That's when Christopher Nolan gets clumsy with his exposition, and that's not too egregious. You can be like, that's whatever, you know. There is one, and I can't remember where. Oh, here's the one that I was like, right, that's really dumb. Where they needed to. There's a scene in Interstellar where one of the scientists, the black dude, is trying to explain what a wormhole is to Matthew McConaughey, Cooper's character, right? So he goes like, this is a wormhole, and he kind of folds the piece of paper in half and he pokes a hole through each side because it's not like warping space, right? And you're like, why are you explaining that to Matthew McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey, right?
Right?
Yeah,
when
no
he know as a character, he knows that.
He definitely fucking.
You know what I mean?
Is. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there.
Correct. He knows that bit of information that you just told him. It's not as if he's like, wormhole? What the heck is a wormhole? You know?
What the fuck is a wormhole?
Right.
What the fuck
like
is
it doesn't.
Time displacement.
Right. It doesn't make sense in context of the narrative for him to explain it to Matthew McConaughey at that point in the movie, because that's their mission is to go find this fucking anomaly in space. So that's when Christopher Nolan is a little heavy-handed with exposition. Does that make sense? The other way that you can explain exposition, or at least the way he does it, and this is an interesting thing because this happens in movies, but you can definitely use it in comics. And I used it just as recently as issue 4, is to make the situation about the thing that you're having exposition about interesting, right? So the perfect example is Interstellar, when they're driving through the cornfield, right? It was the past version. It was McConaughey and his 2 kids, right, before he became Jessica Chastain. I think it's Jessica Chastain, right?
Jessica Chastain, yes.
Right, and then there's a drone that's flying over them for whatever reason, right? And McConaughey explains, because they're like trying to get away from that drone, right? Because they think they're being spied on or something. But anyway, they felt like they were under pursuit.
Oh, I thought they were. I thought they went to capture the drone.
Oh yes, correct. They were trying to capture that drone, and they were doing it in such an They were doing it where the situation was interesting and exciting, right? Because they got to find it, they got to hack into it, and yada yada yada, right?
Yeah.
But he's explaining what that drone is to his kids in the truck. You know what I mean? And it falls into that category of the scientist trying to explain to Matthew McConaughey what a wormhole is. This isn't the first time these damn kids have seen these drones, but he's explaining it in a more interesting way, you know?
Oh, see, that didn't click for me, because I'm like, well, maybe these kids don't know what a drone is, because it's like it takes place like how many decades into the future? Like I think we'd be as old as the John Lithgow character. You know, John Lithgow? That's his name, right?
Yeah, dad.
He's the grandpa.
The grandpa, yeah.
Yeah. He was stealing his favorite scene from Event Horizon.
To me, that was one of the biggest challenges in writing, is that you have to give the audience, and I just recently, we ran into a version of that challenge just as recently as this Saturday when I was talking to Joe. And Joe's like, he wouldn't say that, you know? Like, he would know that already, you know? And I was like, you're right. you're right, but we still need that information. And Joe was like, no, you're right. We were kind of thinking about it for a little bit, and then I said, what if I have the interrogator say it? And it's those little moments where you're like, right, that makes most sense, because they don't know about that plot, you know? They're reiterating, you know? It's so much fun to discover those things, but also, like I said, one of the most challenging exercises in writing, if you're not used to it. There's some people. I also subscribe to a YouTube channel called Film Courage, and it talks to a lot of different writers and their experiences in writing screenplays. And man, everybody's situation is similar enough, but also unique enough that their problem-solving mechanisms are fascinating to me, from a guy who's never had to write anything extensive before.
Huh. Well, that's fun.
So if you ever want to get into writing again, Mike, this is the way.
I wouldn't mind taking a crack at it, man. Speaking of somebody who writes, Trevino.
Yeah.
Trevino's a writer.
Yeah,
Writer,
absolutely.
artist extraordinaire.
Absolutely.
Badass. He says, I wonder if he says this with his accent. I'm not going to do it because it's offensive, but I'll read it. In my opinion,
Yeah.
you need your theme to end your character's journey well.
For sure.
Oh, and Ryan and Tooth in my channel both called it the audience surrogate.
Yes.
The the Elliot Page character.
Correct.
Film Courage is a good one for sure. John says one of our toughest jobs in Urban Animal is organically introducing our magic system without being all exposition. Well, John will legit do like audience like breakdowns. It's usually for Joe Gomez or somebody. It fits, but it's like, and this is who this is. Way back when, such and
Right.
such. It's it's narration, but it's good narration. It, like I said, it fits.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I
feel
think
clunky and heavy-handed.
I think based on what I've read, and I don't know how dramatically it's changed since, but and I'm a bad friend because I'm not caught up in Urban Animal episodes, right? But like based on what I read, John has the perfect mechanism in explaining that world in Joe, right? You can pretty much just like deliver information knowing full well that Joe doesn't know everything, but heaven forbid he matures him to the point where he knows, Then John
Joe
is
don't know.
fucked. John is fucked.
John, you're about to be fucked, John. I was actually asking John. John spent so much of his time over these last few years focusing solely on, for the most part, Urban Animal. What happens? What's the next step when Urban Animal's all said and done?
How did he answer you? Let's talk about him like he's not in the room.
He started sobbing
He started crying.
like a weak woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then I laughed. And then when I laughed at him, he got a boner. No, I don't know. I don't know what he said. I don't think he said anything at all. He probably
didn't
just
want
doesn't
to
want to
think
think
about
about
John doesn't want to think
Yeah.
about future troubles.
JK says, Eric, how do you balance speed versus good visual quality? What do you prioritize?
Shit. Jokingly, I say I don't care about the visual quality, but that's a lie. I have invented. No, that's a lie. I have facilitated a drawing style that closely resemble my storyboarding style, which is predicated on speed and turnaround and output, right? So this is only just a little bit more complex. Well, not a little bit, but this is basically how I storyboard.
if I may
And-
guess,
yeah.
based on what I know of you, because you're used to cranking out the storyboards, and for nobody who's worked in storyboards before, speed wise, that's speed and clarity. I'm assuming are the two most important
100%.
facets of storyboarding.
Yeah, 100%.
So I believe those are what you focus on, and
Yeah,
with
so
that-
there's times
with that-
when it's not the best drawing, right? And I know that it's not the best drawing, but it's the most clear one. Does that make sense?
yeah, yes, that does. Clarity is, especially in comic books, man. Clarity is so much.
Yeah. Rather than
Especially
having
when
like
you
a pretty
realize-
picture, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I know how many in chat, or you in specific, Mike, you and John, you guys draw comics. Like, I would rather have a not so perfect drawing. And I'm not saying ugly, right? I would rather have a not so perfect drawing and communicate the point of whatever it is that I'm trying to get at, whether it be acting or action, than
Right.
you have a perfect drawing, but it communicates absolutely nothing except for a perfect drawing.
Agreed. You know why? Because with one, your audience, for example, let's say you're trying to communicate a certain mood, or perhaps you're trying to elicit a certain emotion out of the reader.
Mm-hmm.
That emotion that you elicit should be paramount. Because what would you rather have? Somebody reading your comic book and they turn the page and they say, "Oh my God," right, and it gets them, or like "Wow," or whatever it is, right? Whatever that you're trying to elicit there, or they turn the page and say, "Oh, that's a neat drawing. Wait, what is
Right.
going on?"
Right. What is going on?
Because you know, I've been that dude. Like, I don't want to name any artists in particular, but there's some artists who I love, admire, adore. Their work is incredible. They could draw circles around me, all night and day. But when I'm reading their comic books, be it lack of editor or what, you turn the page and your eye doesn't know where to go.
Yep.
And you have to you're looking around, you have to catch yourself and figuring out, well, does this panel come first?
Right.
What am I looking at?
Right.
And that sucks.
And to that end, like, why the fuck are you drawing a comic book? You know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah.
go draw a really, really nice sort of like illustrated novel or whatever the heck it is. There's so many things in comic book storytelling that are critical, if not fundamental, critical into how to make a good comic, right? And some people are just caught up in drawing the pretty drawing. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Sure.
I get it, I understand, because a pretty drawing is just like, holy shit, man, like, I drew the crap out of that pinup, I drew the crap out of that leg, or I drew but then it's like, story is first. Storytelling is first and foremost, and some people don't believe in that. Some people do opt for drawing a pretty picture instead, and I'm like, that takes a lot more time and energy than what I'm willing to deal with. And if that's the thing that makes you zoned in on drawing, then cool, by all means, please. But for me, I'm like, that's a really, really pretty drawing, but I felt nothing when I was reading that book. I felt nothing when I was looking at that set of sequences,
Nightmare. No, listen, if that's oh, well, actually, I take that back. I was going to say, if that's your goal, then just stick to covers or something. But even covers, speaking, fucking that's
Yeah, for sure.
speaking of eliciting emotion, a cover, at least a classic cover, when I think of cover, I think, hey, Strike Boy, when I think of covers, I think of classic comic book covers, the kind that you'd walk into the comic book store and you'd see the cover and it would be, fucking Captain America, princess carrying Spider-Man in his arms or something, you see something like that, and you're like, what the hell?
Sure.
What is happening in here?
Sure.
So even that, a cover is eliciting emotion or a response from an audience member on a single image Like it's the most refined version. So even then, drawing a pretty picture, but not being able to appropriately convey clarity of purpose of that drawing, who gives a
Yeah.
shit?
Yeah. Hello, David Peterson. How are you? Good evening, sir.
Hey, mouse guard Dave.
It says you need to make
Howdy.
those links in your description actual clickable links. I'm getting bombed at from the peanut gallery, even though he's right. I'm spending all my time making imperfect drawings that poorly communicate. Get out of here, Dave. I think so how I see mouse guard drawings, and I put myself through the exercise of paying attention why mouse guard as drawings are so consumable. I think it's because it's rare. I can't remember even the last time. Like, Dave's characters are easy to read. Does that make sense? Like
Yes.
Dave's character designs are immediately understandable. You
And
know what I mean?
recognizable at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, yeah, they're pretty much the brand. You know what I mean? They're pretty much in. You
Right.
know, they pretty much are all well-fitting pieces of a well-planned IP. But I mean, like, when I first started seeing, when I had the opportunity, and this is my failure. I remember when Dave asked me to write to draw Mouse Guard. He had asked me if I would be brave enough to actually write it, and I was like, no. So he was kind enough to write it, and I went in there and drew what he wrote. My mistake, and I couldn't quite understand it back then. And sometimes the pages would come up in my folders when I would be looking through, my drives, and I would see the mouse guard pages, and I would see where I fundamentally failed a standard that Dave has set up for himself when he's drawing those characters, which is they are so easy to read. Not just in their design, but their purpose, like, looking at them who they are. Does that make sense? And that takes I was just drawing, right? Like, I just wanted to draw that mouse guard story that I did, right? But I wasn't thinking about, like, when you see these people, do you know that this is a chieftain? Do you know that this is a, you know what I mean? Do you know that this is more of a rookie swordsman? Do you understand that this is the more experienced warrior? Do you understand that this is more, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think
That's clarity, baby.
Yeah. I think that's how Dave understands how to design to complement his character. And I didn't have that facility. I didn't have the facility available.
How long ago was this, Eric?
I can't remember. Too long for me to remember, dude. Too long for me to remember. Eric, what is the dry texture brush that you've used at the top of the page? Here? Fuck, man, I don't remember. I've downloaded so many, like, for instance, I will just type in dry texture brush into the internet. And then, dry texture brush Procreate. And I will buy some guy's bundle that I think that has it. Because, brushes are relatively inexpensive. And then I will test it out and be like, ugh, I don't really like that. So I'll find the right one and then put them into my, this inking folder that I have in Procreate, but never, and I would erase the name, I would be like, there's a brush in my concept art folder that's just GGGGG because it made it easy for me to find when I did my brush drop down box, I didn't retain the original brush name, so I wish I could tell you what that dry brush name was, but sorry.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. I feel like you guys can't tell I'm right here when you are talking about how bad I am at comics. Come on, dude. Come on. Eric, is there anywhere to see any of your storyboarding work? The actual drawings of my storyboards? No. I mean, maybe I could put it up on my website somewhere, but no. I mean, you can see the episodes that I storyboarded in Tron. Quite proud of them. I buy comics for the artist and sometimes the writer. Most always for the artist I like. Cool. I'm a fan of that. I understand it. Strike Boy, welcome back. Hello. David, your artwork is awesome. I ordered 2 copies of your upcoming one-shot. Great stuff. Absolutely awesome. That's very kind of you, Lefty. Very, very cool. RX, stop it. Your story was great. No, the story was great, David. That's because you wrote it. The execution of the story was just like, it was so ham-fisted, and it had very little new, like, the drawings had very little nuance. They were fun. I had fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm not denying the incredible amount of enjoyment that I got out of drawing those pages. But just looking back, I'm like, oh, Dave was so smart about this shit. Like, I understand his characters, you know?
Dave Tran's in the chat. Dave Tran says Greg Tokini is one of his favorite artists. Oh, one of his favorite artists, but he has a hard time. Greg Tokini was actually one of the primary examples of who I was mentioning when it came to lack of clarity. And I do say that, I don't say that lightly. I think Tokini is an incredible artist and storyteller. And dude, some of the art that he's put in that book, Low, I believe it's called.
It's Low, yeah.
Incredible. However, I must say, on more than one occasion, even more than a handful of times, there have been points where I've been visually lost. His artwork, incredible. Again, the man can draw circles around me. But these pages failed as far as sequential storytelling is concerned. From that standpoint,
I can't fucking read it sometimes.
Yeah.
I marvel at, I'm pretty surprised at how much I marvel over something that I can't understand. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to trust that it's good because it looks awesome.
The drawings of your pages are great. The story read well. Fans loved it, says Dave Peterson.
That's very kind. Thank you so much, Dave. It really has a, like, I don't know if you guys seen any of the footage from the Mouse Guard series before they pulled the plug on it?
Was that it looked like it was done in the Unreal Engine?
It's
that stuff?
mind-bogglingly good, just because of the technology that's happening, just the actual amount of technical effort that went into making those things read well. However, I would argue that there were some images in there, the guys who know what they're doing somehow deconstructed the DNA of how David works his characters and managed to capture it so that those things read, the characters, the designs read really, really well. And I wish I had that sort of, knack, right?
Is that the footage with the bird that kind of swoops in?
Yes, among other things, I think.
Yeah. No, that was the animation. There was jaw-dropping. There's no other way to phrase that.
Pretty freaking phenomenal.
I think that would have been revolutionary. The same way Into the Spider-Verse kind of really made people stand up and look at animation in a new light. Or
I can see that.
At least when it comes to big budget, right? Animation. I think Mouse Guard could have been that had it been finished.
What are my thoughts on fully painted comics versus going in with inks and coloring? I'm a fan of fully painted comics. I love Kingdom Come. I love Meltdown by I love that Havoc Wolverine comic. These are all like old school stuff from my youth, but I like painted comics. There's a ton of stuff that Mobius has done that's painted.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it fits the story, oftentimes what really takes me out of a book is when I understand the point of the narrative, but then I take a look at the art and the execution of it, and it's not complimentary at all. So that really needs to get shored up before anything goes into print. You need to understand what you're trying to communicate and whether or not the art style is complementary to the story that you're trying to tell. How had I never seen this Mouse Guard demo reel before? I'm glad you're seeing it now. I don't know how you haven't seen it previously, but I'm glad you're seeing it now if you're seeing it at all. Okay, this page is done. Oh my gosh, I actually finished one panel. Hooray for me.
Hey, page looks great. I'm gonna come to your house, Eric. I'm gonna steal all your Procreate brushes.
Dude, wait, what does your folder look like right now for your brushes?
Oh my god, dude. I don't even
It's stupid, right?
want to look at it. It's dumb.
Like, why do you have
obscene.
it? What is it? Is it just like your weird digital brush? You're like a pack rat.
Yeah, I did what you did, except I downloaded like over 100 brush sets. I mean, legally bought 100 brush sets off of all my people.
I
And,
like how you threw
I
in
just dumped
legally
them.
in there just to be on the safe side, dude.
Well, I mean, of course, don't you when you do things lawfully? Don't you say I lawfully did this thing?
Yeah, of course. I like to preempt all of my lawful actions
Yeah.
by saying I lawfully did it. Yeah, that's very natural.
That's how
Like,
you know.
that's
Hey,
how. That's
super
perfect.
natural.
If I was writing you, that's exactly what I would do. Is to have you write, I lawfully did not steal, for sure, 100%.
Exactly what an innocent person would say.
Yeah,
And do.
yeah. There's nothing
Hello, Haley.
suspicious about that at all. That's very character appropriate, very natural.
They'll never know. In honor of being, somebody just tweeted out that we're live.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Here, just
All right, I got about another 5-10 minutes, and I'm gonna exit. It's time for this pumpkin to turn back into an uglier pumpkin.
there we go. Good night, Mona. Thank you for hanging out, buddy.
All right, before I get started on this page and deep dive too deeply into it and like end up working on it all night, ooh, I love seeing a page up on the screen because then I go like, that looks awkward. I need to fix it. You ever get that? Like, I know it's already on the screen in front of you, but it seems to look okay, and then you look up at it on like a screen that's
Second monitor.
yeah, and I'm
Dude,
like,
second monitor is so
that
important.
looks awful.
Second monitor would be super important to have your work up. That's what I usually do. I have my work up elsewhere. Oh,
Do you really have a second
course.
monitor up all the time?
yeah. Unless I'm drawing like away from the PC, but if I'm drawing it at my desk with
Yeah.
Procreate, I have it plugged into the monitor and I have it mirrored up on one of the screens, so I get a different
Crazy.
angle of it. And also, it's one of my same reason why one of my hotkeys is flip horizontal. I'm constantly
Nerd.
flippy. Good night, Jasper.
You know who else does
Yes,
that, and I
this
don't like it? Dave Tran.
David Tranny. I wonder why Dave didn't get on voice chat.
He's a coward.
Haley, that's awesome. Strike
Oh,
Force
much
is
better.
always good to have a second monitor. It's good to look at your art from another angle.
Why can't you
Especially
see the
Dave
other
Tran.
guy on stream? This guy wants to see you, dude.
You could fucking look at my stupid face. I'm on
Replicator.
streaming live right now.
Yeah, Replicator wants to see you. We got to do the version where, I actually want to start talking to Rob about his writing process. Anybody in chat, like, Dave, I want to bug him for about 10 minutes and just, ask him about his writing process for Musgard and all of his projects, At one point, he was streaming. David, what was
Yes.
the name of that collective writing group that you guys had? Plotmasters.
Ooh.
And he would stream that with people. I think he would stream it. It wasn't consistent, was it? I don't recall. It was maybe once a month that you did it. But it was fascinating to me, and I would love to be able to pick your brain about your writing style, and then contrast that by having Rob on stream and talking to him about his writing style. That'd be so weird.
It, uh,
And great, right? I would think
yeah,
it'd
dude.
be benefit. Selfishly, I'm speaking for myself. It'd be so great to hear how each of them approach their writing processes.
Hey, do you think people call Dave Peterson DP for short?
I hope not, because I know where you're going, and I don't like it.
No, 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 no. Nothing disrespectful or lewd. I just meant
Writing
just,
process. Do you not have a writing process, Rob? Is it just like it just manifests out of your head and onto the typewriter? Hello, Paulus Arts. How are you? Steaming both of you both, but it's a tad out of sync. Right on. For a minute there, Eric, I thought you were recreating a Dr. Fate from the Justice League team. Nope. And on the image? No. How do you mean that the art style should complement the story? Gritty, angry story, gritty, angry art. I mean, that's the overly simplistic way of doing it, right? I mean, that's the over simplistic way of making the making an example, but it's not too far from the truth. I just can't imagine doing a noir story like Sin City and doing it in the style of just like Sean Galloway, right? Cheeks, right?
Cheeks.
It doesn't make sense, right? It's not complementary to each other, because I don't think you can do that hardcore broken nose detective noir story, right? Murder mystery story, and have it be in Sean's style, because it's not complementary to each other. It doesn't necessarily have to be gritty, but it just has to feel. There's like, you know, within the X amount of art styles that you can help fit into a superhero story. There's a wide band. You know, you can have everything from Francis Manipul all the way to Mark Silvestri. At one point, they all drew superhero stories, so the band is wide. Similar to a a gritty story, a gritty murder mystery story. There's a band of styles that can fit within that. Like you can have Jock, and you can have like, what's another hard, like you can have Jason Alexander on there, right? Like it can be all of those, right? Or you can have something super, I can't remember the artist that I saw, like he draws super simple, but it's so graphic, or like in a hard-boiled kind of detective story. Have you ever seen Robert Valley do his storyboards? Robert Valley can draw Robert Valley can draw noir if he really, really wanted to. But that's a completely different art style than Jock, right?
Oh man, dude, you just rattle off a whole bunch of legends.
Yeah. Plot Masters is more about looking back at old characters / stories and critiquing them. Oh, yeah. Anytime you want to have me on to chat, dude, that sounds like a good idea. What do you think, Mike?
Dude, I would love to pick Peterson's braid.
Like start to finish, you know what I mean? Maybe there's something that we can talk about to be like, first of all, his writing style, but maybe present it in exercise and application. Not to have him write the plot while we're streaming, but to like, okay, so here's conceptually the idea, or give it in tangible terms, maybe even in context to Mouse Guard, that would be so awesome. I would learn so much from that.
Yeah, man. Thank you for subscribing to the YouTube. 62 Lefty Blues. Lefty Blues says the art that I'm drawing has a James O'Barr feel.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, man.
James O'Barr. Crow James O'Barr.
Yeah, Crow.
I'm starting to forget names, man. Okay, 4 more minutes, and I'm going to excuse myself. Just by looking at the art style, it almost looks similar to the superhero. Huh. That's why I didn't care for All-Star Batman and Robin. Jim Lee and Frank Miller don't mesh well. But didn't didn't. No, I was about to say, didn't Frank Miller and Jim Lee work on something previously? Nope, it was All Star. It was always. It always surprised me how creepy Joan Vasquez could get with his cute style. Yeah, even that cutesy style has a bit more edge and bite to it than, let's say, somebody who's drawing something super specific for Disney. You know, you can still get cute, but definitely lean more towards the creepy side of it. Have you guys all seen this 3D bust? Can I show this off before I sign off?
Dude, you got to show the bust.
Okay. Here it is. You guys see that okay? Next to my face. Actually, it's better with my face there because it's like now you have a point of reference how big it is. Look at that. See that? Okay. You can get this here bust, potentially. Could be yours. Simply by signing up for my newsletter. You can go to ericcanete.com/arc-athena-info. And yeah, by signing up your email to my newsletter at the end of this month, we're going to be giving one of these bad boys away to you as a random thank you to people who have signed up and supported the website, who supported the newsletter and my project. If you could do that, that'd be amazing. Actually, I'm gonna go sign off now because I think we're getting pretty close. Thank you everybody for joining me. I really appreciate it. Come back next week, me and Mike, and maybe if we can come up with a good way to schedule it, the awesome Dave Peterson can join us. Who knows? But come back next week. We're going to be doing more of this same, just chit-chatting and talking about process, talking about art, anything else that may pop into it. This was less spicy than last week, I thought.
Yeah, we didn't go crazy this time.
We didn't go crazy. Yeah, we were just talking about regular stuff. Anyway, like I said, if you already haven't signed up for the newsletter, please do so. ericcanete.com. Go to the upper right-hand corner. It says ARC-ATHENA info. You can sign up there. If you're not already following me on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and on Twitter under Eric Canete, ERICCANET. I stream Tuesdays with my good buddy Mike, the Batman to my Robin, the Luke to my Watto.
Nah, dude, I'm the R2D2 to your Anakin. Goddamn.
That's not true. That's 0% true. What else is there? If you're interested in getting some of my original art, you can go to essentialsequential.com. Hit up Jason Schachter there. I'd be more than happy to help you out. I'm not taking on any more commissions at the moment because I'm strictly focused on ARC-ATHENA and getting this stuff done. Speaking of ARC-ATHENA, I think the launch date we're still maintaining the launch date, which is September of 2021. We're going to start campaigning for issue 1 as soon as Rob tells me that all my ideas are good. And see how that looks. I think that's it, man. Oh, please go follow my good friend Michael DiNicola if you're not already doing so. Twitch.tv/Michael DiNicola, or on this here YouTube, youtube.com/Michael DiNicola. It would do him a great. You would do him a great big favor if you if you could hit that subscribe button. His socials are under that same name as well, on both Instagram and on Twitter. I think that's it, right? Am I missing anything?
I think that's it, buddy.
Okay,
I think you
man.
got it all, man.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me on Tuesday. I know what time it is on your neck of the woods, so I appreciate you staying up for me. This is fun.
I love these Tuesdays, man. I look forward to them. I love talking process with you.
Yeah, we'll keep that going for sure.
Ooh, I hope we get Peterson on next week.
Well, he just said like, he's in. Send me an email to discuss. That'd be awesome. I kind of want to ask him. I want to write up a set of good questions, or maybe I can just ask Dave, like, hey man, what do you feel like talking about? Understanding, like, I'm really super honed in on what makes for a good story, what makes good characters, what makes good narrative. I'd love to have him talk for as long as he needs to, Anyway, all right.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Come back next Tuesday. We'll do this again. Have a good night.
See you guys next Tuesday.
Bye-bye.